What's up, guys? Carmen here, coming at you yet again with another Bang Dream deck tech. This one's going to be something using a little bit of the new stuff from Volume 2, a lot of the new good green cards. This is a Fever archetype. So let's jump right into it. It's got a little bit of a twist at the top. So starting off at level 0, we're going to run 4 of the Himari runner. So it's a free runner, and then when it's on the top of your clock, if you get a reverse of something, you choose your character at the beginning of your climax phase. When that character gets a reverse, you can choose to remove the top card of your opponent's clock and kick that character that you reversed to their clock. So it goes even, it doesn't clock kick, but what it does do is help you remove things for your fever turn, stuff like Swimsuit Megamine, stuff that rests in battle phase, which is like really bad for you. And it also has like support for our early play and stuff like that in terms of being an Afterglow character. And you know, runners are good. It's just a simple card, but that second effect really helps with Swimsuit Megamine because it can really screw over your fever. Moving on, we're in red, so we're gonna run the anti-runner. It's a 3K anti-runner and it can't side attack. Things across from it can't move, no matter what turn it is. So it beats opponent runners, and then because it's 3K, it's really good against Attack on Titan, because with like any of the buffs that we run, plus our Climax, it can swing over AOT on their turn, or at least match it, and they can't gear away. Aaron could still pop to hand if they got to 1 first, but that clears the lane and makes sure you still get your plus for your fever. So the anti-runner as a profile is like just really, really good. It's really good that Bang Dream has one, and that it's in red, and that it's got good power, because you can, again, really good against AOT. Moving on, so this is where my list might seem a little different from other people. So I'm running the Saya Brainstormer. I've been messing with this card a lot. So it's a Rest 2 Search Brainstorm. But then the big reason is that the first effect is at the beginning of your climax phase, you can give any of your characters 1,000 power. That's really good, not only for controlling the board at 0, but also ensuring that we have enough power to get over stuff on our fever turns. So, you know, it's a pretty good brainstorm, especially because I think this is like a common. Right? Yeah, so just something I've been messing with in my build specifically, especially at our top end, since, spoiler alert, we're not going to be running Mocha in this build, although you can change a couple cards. That extra power is really relevant throughout the game. If you don't like this, you don't like that it's Rest 2, you can easily swap this with the Remy. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something I've been messing with and I've seen a lot of success with, at least locally. So just something to keep in mind. Moving on, so we're running the Orisa Top Checkers. They rest to give any character 1,000 power, and then when you play this or play any other music character after it's down, you get to look at the top card of your deck. This is really good for confirming a lot of the things we run in your deck, like the Himari Alarm, the Cosme Bomb that buffs and stuff like that. It helps you confirm triggers, do a lot of nutty stuff. It has a little bit of anti-synergy with the Saya, but on turns where you're not brainstorming, you get to like pump 2,000 power, split 1K somewhere on your field. So just a really powerful engine. It's off colors, only run 2, but just really powerful in the deck. As we go through more cards at the higher levels, you'll see why. I'm running 2 of the Chibi-Ron. So this is pay 1, pitch 1, look at top 3, add any card, just to help me get into my gate if I'm not good enough to mulligan into it. Happens more often than you think. Gets into events too. We only really run 1 event, but you know, it's just good to have, good filter, and you know, decent mill. Cosmo is just a good effect. I know this is becoming hard to find now. Green, you're not having too much trouble in the list. There's an Orisa that has this exact same effect from Girls Band Party Volume 2. You could probably throw that in if you're having trouble finding it. Not that big of a deal. All right, so Search and Salvage, 2 Kokoro, Invincible Hero Kokoro, Spaghetti herself. 2 soul in the center lane, and she's a drop searcher. This card's nutty, absolutely crazy. And then 1 of the side drop salvagers. So pay 1, pitch 1, salvage a character, give something 1,000 power, and also has on play mill 2. If you hit a climax, give something 15. So those both go off at the same time. You can order them however you want. Unlike a slot for cards that have free mill, helps set up a better waiting room for your level 1 since Cosme salvages. But you could easily do something like this. Run 2 Sayas, but Kokoro is just really, really good as a card. So, but yeah, you can play with like sort of these 6 however you want. You can swap this for Remy, you can swap these around, other filtering cards if you don't like the Chibi-Ron. The big thing is just the Himaris, the anti-runners, and the Orisa Top Checkers. You can sort of play with the rest of this here. This is just sort of my personal preference. let me get these out of the way here, and we'll move on to level 1. All right, so like I said before, we're playing Fever. So we got the Cosme Fever. So this Climax combos with the Gate Climax. This one, Let's Sing. And Fever is a new mechanic. You got to joker reverse your opponent's field for the stuff to go off. So that means everything on your opponent's board has to either be reversed or there has to be nothing there. So it has to be either a completely reversed field or reversed in open slots. And what you get when you joker reverse your opponent's board with the Climax, is you get to salvage a card at Encore step. Even if you don't get the Fever, or your opponent otherwise screws your Fever over, Cosme still tries to plus you, which is unique to the other Fever combos, like the Cannon level 1, which you don't get anything if you don't Fever. So her first effect is, other than the salvage, is you can choose to either mill the top card of your deck or leave it there, so you can't screw yourself over with multiples, and then you reveal a card, whether you mill or not. You reveal a card. If it's a level 1 or higher characters only, can't add events, it goes to your hand. So you do that, then you do the salvage, then you move to your next Cosme. If you have more than one on field, you can either salvage first or mill. And what's great about this is, like, unless you're blind milling off the top to sort of get through your next deck, you can basically sort of mill yourself into a cancel, which is something not a lot of people talk about, but it's a really cool interaction with the deck, because you're sort of like if this goes super well for you, you'll double plus for everyone you play with the Climax combo. But on top of that, you're sort of milling yourself into a cancel, extending your level 1, since you have a lot of really high value level 1 plays, especially if you get to pre-field the next card we're talking about. So if you pre-field this Cosme bomb, you are super far ahead. So this is on play, reveal top, there's a music character, give anything 2K, including yourself. I've talked about this card before. This card's absolutely nuts. Helps ensure that your Fever goes off, just like really perfect synergy, makes this bigger, and reverses a lane, guaranteed. Really good for like answering someone's zeros, even if they have oversizes, because she can buff herself. You have ways to confirm it with the Orisa top check. It's a really, really solid card, and it's a big reason to sort of run this package. It's a lot of fun. And it has the 2K power is like always relevant throughout the game, so it's just a really neat card. Moving on, so these have to do with our early play. So these are the same card, this Tomoe. On play, it bonds to our Ron early play. And then if it's on the field, when you play the Ron early play, you get to pop this to stock. So the Ron will play for 1 and give the Ron 1500 power that turn only. So that's a pretty cool effect. The other part that makes it relevant throughout the game is that when it's on top of your clock and you have 4 or more other music characters, I believe it's 4 or more. Yeah, 4 more other music characters. You get to do Faithless Looting. You get to draw 2 Ditch 2 at the beginning of your Climax phase before you play a Climax. So it can help you rip into like extra gates, slam some extra damage, filter out your hand if you need to ditch out a bunch of flooded Climaxes. And the big thing that it lets you do is, instead of running just like 4 early plays, you get to run a little bit more utility and run only 3 of these, because this can bond to it. And you only have to hold 1 card, since like, you want to play this anyway, so you can play your Ron for 1, because he's already super efficient. But that just makes it even crazier, because it basically makes it sort of like a ditch a card, heal to stock, but the card that it heals goes to memory. Bang Dream putting cards in memory is like a pretty scary thing to think about. And the Faithless Looting stuff is just super wild, and it feels super good. Don't underrate that effect. It's really, really good. Moving on, my last card at level 1 is, I really like the Remy Chaser because we're running the Cosme Bomb. This is sort of like my local meta read. If you don't like this, there's another option that we can get into. But if you're expecting to see a lot of like Attack on Titan or maybe other Bang Dream or other stuff that you can easily screw over by chasing your Cosme in front of something else to screw over somebody's Climax combo, this just has a lot of uses. Good players already know like how strong this effect can be, especially because she can run herself in front of something. If your opponent like tries to have a little chump swing or something in there, you can like cheese this up to the front row and get something if you've left an open spot. but just a really, really strong effect if you know how to use it in the right situation. So just sort of the quintessential one of. So if this isn't working for you and you're seeing a lot of Konosuba, you can maybe tech this Tsugumi into that spot. So what this does is ensure that her Himari, it does some filtering stuff, but what it in actuality does is swings at 6-5 and make sure that this Himari is on top of our clock so that her alarm effect can go off at our climax phase so we can remove stuff like Swimsuit Megumin. Good Konosuba players are going to put you in that situation where they're going to field 2 Swimsuit Megumins and you're going to have to coin flip on one and kick another. So this can just help you not suck as much against it. It's like really hard, but you know, it's just a good tech option because it enables that alarm effect. So just something to keep in mind if this isn't doing too much for you. So let me get these level 1s out of here and we'll move on to our level 2s. So one of the most fun parts about this deck, especially with the top check engine for me, is being able to run like 3 or 4 Himari bombs. So if this card is on the top of your clock and you have 4 more music characters, you get to stock the top card of your deck at the beginning of your climax phase. So you can guarantee that it's clean with the Orisa top checker. And since you're running so many bombs and like it has natural synergy with like clearing early plays if you wanted to like do another Fever combo like at level 2, which is another reason that Fever is super fun because it's like really like relevant later in the game because one of these can double plus you as opposed to like having field 2 of the like Yukinas or Christmas Cosmes where like they kind of get run over and like nothing happens. One of these can like double plus you and you can clear another lane because it's naturally like synergizing with Fever since it kicks it to clock. It's hard removal, good against Love Life Sunshine, gives you free stock. It's an afterglow character so when you use it to pitch the Ron, so even if we hold it, it has value anyway to encore our Ron. Just really, really fun being able to run a lot of this card. A lot of builds have like tried to like run a bunch of Himaris and like cheese a bunch of free stock off it as opposed to running stuff like Toilet. But Himari in this list really shines. This is like a really fun card to play with and it's like a big reason you just get to run a bunch of these in the list and bomb out your opponent's early plays and you never have to deal with it. It's a lot of fun. We also run one of this Mocha, so it's a 2-1 level assist in front. It is a rest 2 salvage brainstorm, and if you have the early play run on field, it's a global 500. So it's like a frontal 2K and then 500 to your other lane. Because of the top end that we're choosing to run, which we'll get to in a bit, we need a little bit of extra power, but if you're going to run Mocha or other things, this card's easily cuttable. It does give us grave access since our other brainstorm is search, so we can sort of choose with one of those and one of the Psi on the board, whether we want to search deck or search waiting room. But 2K in front of the Ron, since she only sits at 95, even though she has Encore, is pretty good. And I had to find a reason to put the SSP in the list, so. Last card at level 2, Buns for Luck, stock swap. This is like the boogeyman of Bang Dream. This is like the main reason a lot of people are really afraid of Bang Dream because it's a 2-1 stock swap. If you get hit to 2 and your opponent just comboed off with say a stock charge like something like Union, you can really just fuck over your opponent's deck. It's really nasty. It's really rude. Just like puts a lot of finishers over the edge, especially if you're running Mocha, since Mocha just kind of like top checks and like can kind of fizzle out because they always cancel on 3 when you're playing Mocha. Just like really puts your opponent in weird situations. They have to play around this card if they see it because they know you're going to hold it, especially if they're using a stock charge strategy. It can force your opponent to pay out a lot of their stock in inoptimal ways to sort of play around like just having their deck stay completely fucked by you. Just a really, really strong card. We do have to hard draw it, which is why we're running 2 instead of 1, even though it is super situational. But we can get into it with our Chibi Rons, our Cosmo effects, as well as our top end, which top checks 3, which might have spoiled it, but we'll see. All right, let me get these level 2s out of the way. Although, moving on to level 3, I guess this is more of a level 2. We're running 3 of the Ron early plays. She early plays for 2 or less climaxes. She has Encore for pitch and Afterglow character, only Afterglow. And on play, if you have 2 or more other music characters, choose a card in your clock, or choose a music character in your clock and heal it to memory. Let me just check that. Yeah, it is 1 character, so it doesn't have to be a music character. Not that you can whiff that in Bang Dream, but anyway. So This card is like a big reason why this deck in particular plays very differently from the other Bang Dream lists that are running Yukina, where they sort of go all in all game. They either get there or they don't with Yukina. Fever Mocha is more of a, or like all these Fever decks where it's Fever top end, with especially that are running green, are more of a sustain deck. Because this is healing you, because this is so efficient with the Tomoe, like, because this is so efficient, it's playing for 1, it's healing you to memory, you're like compressing. It's just a really, really strong early play for the deck because it can sustain so hard. And you have like, we're running the Himaris mostly for ditch support for Afterglow so that we can make sure that we have some like junky cards, quote unquote, to keep this around. And say our opponent, like, you know, we're able to answer this, we can do stuff like with the Remy Chaser. We can like run our Ron around, keep it around a little longer. We're like holding Himaris to deal with our opponent's early plays, but if they end up not early playing, or we end up being able to deal with it just with Ron and some power pumps, we can use the Himari to maybe ditch to save the Ron later. So like sort of the cards that you're holding anyway have synergy with just keeping this around. So that is just like sort of the card that brings the whole deck together and makes the deck so much more of a threat. Because before this, people were playing like Christmas Cosme into Mocha and stuff like that, and it was the same general idea, but this card just kind of puts it over the edge. So I guess it's finally time to spoil our finisher. So I'm running Tsugumi in this deck. So I have like a huge love-hate relationship with Mocha. Mocha's like a good card. She's really defensive. She heals you, but she never gets there. They always cancel on 3. It's not an explosive finisher. If you're even a little bit behind, you just have no hope of coming back with that because they're always going to cancel on 3. It's really inconsistent. Like a lot of people don't even respect this card as a real finisher, which I don't think is completely fair, but you know, still, it is what it is. So Tsugumi, what she does, she top checks 3, adds 1 on play. So if you can't get a bar into your hand after all game and top checking 3, probably like 6 cards, and like clocking for turn, I don't know what to tell you. I'm really unlucky, and I can still always get the bar with this combo. And then the best part about it is Fever. So if you Fever your whole board, you can pay 1, pitch 1, ping your opponent for 1 on the encore step, and then clock kick any of their characters in their front row. So that's about as close as you can get to guaranteed 2 damage after attack. So you're going to get 3 swings, whatever your other cards are doing, whether they have some on attack burns or stuff like that, or maybe Musashi's, and then you're going to clock kick their character and ping 1. So it will ping 1, then clock kick their character. So that's just like really, really gross, like consistent damage. The drawback is she's not getting any of her own power, which is why we're running, as you've seen, a lot of the other stuff. Like we have the Saya Brainstorm, we have the Mocha that's giving some power in front. We have stuff like, where did I put my level 1s down here? We have the Cosme Bomb, which we can use to buff her 2K, all sorts of stuff. So we have a lot of support for ensuring that our Tsugumis are going to catch reverse and get our Fever. But it's just something I've been messing with. It's been a lot of fun to play this over Mocha, especially because they both combo on bar. It's the same level of consistency. It's just a more explosive top end, especially with the top check 3, because even if this stuff doesn't go off and Fever doesn't go off, maybe you can rip yourself into a buns and get your opponent that way. Since Mocha was just doing vanilla swings anyway. So really, what's the difference? I'm joking. Mocha has a lot more utility than that. But it's just been a lot of fun. You can very easily just change out this card for this card and the climaxes for the bars, and there would be no issue at all, and the deck would play could play completely the same. It'd probably have a little bit more sustain since Mocha heals at encore step, whereas this is healing too, so you have like 7 healers in the deck. which is pretty gross. So just sort of like how you want to play your playstyle. This is a little bit more aggressive, or I should say a lot more aggressive at the end game in terms of like direct damage and clock kicking and removing. So just to give you an option, it's a fun card to play around with, and I encourage you guys to give it a try. Because we're doing Fever at the end game, but I think a lot of other lists are running this too. We're running 2 of the trial deck cost me. So this is an overstated monstrosity. We have the whole top check engine on our deck, so our on play reveal top if it's a music character ping one is pretty much going to go off every single time. And then she swings for 15 and your opponent can't play events or backups, which is ridiculous. So she swings in at 15k before any buffs. You can send her to 17 extremely easily with stuff like the Saya or the Cost Me Bomb and a Climax, so she can clear out Futaba, which is a big reason this is in the list, to make sure that we can get our Fever. Just really, really strong. In this list specifically, I think this is stronger than teching in the Hagami Bouncer, although that is also an option. You can up a yellow a little bit. You can run some Hagami bombs or something like that to make sure you have enough yellow to fix for the Hagami Bouncer. But I think that this fulfills a similar role and also has the ping on play, and it's just a really, really gross, disgusting, efficient card, and it slots right into the deck. So just to clean it up here, obviously we are running 4 bars and 4 gates. This is a 8+ing trigger Climax lineup. The bars are going to hand. As we saw in our 0 lineup, we have a lot of filtering tools, although they are all costed. If you are running into the option or problem, as I have many times, of needing costless ditch, there are plenty of options in Bang Dream for that. So you can sort of like mix and match in these cards if that's something that you're looking for. So you're only running 4 bars. You shouldn't have too much of a flood problem. But it's just a really, really consistent lineup, especially since like Saya's searching deck, and then this is giving you grave access as well as the Saya and some other stuff, as well as the Mocha Brainstorm. So yeah, I think that about does it. I know that a lot of people aren't looking at this card and a lot of people aren't messing with it, but I really implore you for you guys to give this card a try. It's a lot of fun. Fever is a lot easier to get off in English than people will tell you. People are really down on it. People don't think that playing around it, people think that playing around it is super easy, and like to a certain degree they're right. Stuff like Attack on Titan exists. Attack on Titan with like 2 gears can like always screw you if you aren't, holding stuff like the anti-runner and stuff like that to deal with them. But in general, getting Fever off isn't as hard as you think. But if you hate it, like I said, you can always swap in Mocha and her Climax combo right into the Scooby slot. But, running Fever at level 1 is pretty much the whole reason that you'd want to run this green-red deck as opposed to running any of the other Bang Dream lists that exist. But yeah, the list's a whole lot of fun. I hope you guys give it a try. And I think that's it. So in terms of upcoming content, I believe we have the Alicization set review coming soon, sort of like a set preview, sort of like how we did for Goblin Slayer. Want to get that out. I believe the guys are going to do that while I am in Japan for Worlds, or WGP Finals, I guess. So while I'm there, they're going to take care of that. We got some other deck techs on the way. We pre-recorded a few, as well as I think the guys are going to do some other ones while I'm out. So yeah, that stuff's on the pipeline. And yeah, I think that's it. So Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. Hope you guys have a great day.